Hey guys, JV here, and today I'm sharing 10 things you need to know about Journey to the Savage Planet. Big thanks to 505 Games and Typhoon Studios for allowing me to get an early look at their new game. On the surface, it's a bit difficult to figure out what kind of game this is. It's bright, cartoony, and has an interesting sense of humor, but what are we really dealing with here? Is this an RPG? Is it open world? How long is this game? What can you really expect from Journey to the Savage Planet? Fortunately, I've had the chance to play it start to finish, so I wanted to draw from my experience, show off some gameplay, and share some important things that you should know. Starting us off, let's talk about the story, the narrative of Journey to the Savage Planet. You start as a new recruit, an explorer contracted by KINDRED AEROSPACE, which they remind you constantly is the fourth best space exploration company in the galaxy. Your mission is to explore ARY-26, and that involves discovering all the alien flora and fauna, uncovering the mystery behind this planet, and making sure it's fit for human habitation. From the very beginning, you're reminded that KINDRED is a very cheap company. Your ship breaks when you get there, and they don't even send you with enough fuel to get back, so you're kind of on your own. Your character is not voiced, and most of the narrative is delivered through your AI companion Echo, who chimes in and comments on everything that's happening to you and guides you towards your destinations. You'll also hear from KINDRED's CEO, Martin Tweed, who checks in periodically to monitor your progress on the mission. Moving on, let's talk about what kind of game this is. What is Journey to the Savage Planet? If I were to attach a qualifier to it, I would call this a first-person action-adventure platformer. I know it doesn't quite roll off the tongue, but that covers about everything. There's some light puzzling in there too, but the majority of what you're doing in this game is exploring and platforming. I do want to give a disclaimer because immediately when I saw this trailer back at the Game Awards in 2018, I thought this was a survival game. Like on the surface, it even looks like one. In concept, you're going to an uncharted planet, you gotta survive. That seems like that's what it is, but it's absolutely not. You don't have to eat food because your character gets hungry. You don't have to drink because you're thirsty. Nothing like that. And my first thought was this looks a lot like Subnautica because you've got all those elements that look very similar on the surface, like resource collection and upgrades, but honestly, that's where the comparisons end. Journey to the Savage Planet is all about exploring and all about discovering. And if we're gonna make a direct comparison to another game, I would say it most reminds me of Outer Wilds, one of the best games of 2019. In a similar way, Journey to the Savage Planet tries to tap into that curiosity that is in all of us. You're trying to understand what's going on around you in a very different, wacky, unfamiliar place. I'm going to explain more about what kind of game this is in the only way I know, which is to break it down into parts. So I would say there are three central parts to Journey to the Savage Planet. That's exploration, crafting, and combat. In terms of exploration, there's so much built into the design of this game that lends to what you're supposed to be doing, which is exploring. Your first piece of equipment that you start with is your visor, which lets you scan plants and creatures to identify and discover them, and then learn more about them. Everything you uncover is cataloged in your codex. So if you forget, if you look at this creature and say, oh, what is that? You can go back and look and identify it as a pufflebird or a jellywaft. Side note, there's some very imaginative creature designs and models in this game. I was constantly surprised by what I was seeing. It seems like with every new game these days, people want to know, is this open world? Is this a linear or non-linear experience? And Journey to the Savage Planet is open world and non-linear. It's completely open. You could run from one end of the beginning of the game to the very end, non-stop, no loading screens, which is pretty cool. It's also non-linear, so you can tackle things a bit out of order if you want to and explore at your leisure, but it does approach this at a very Metroidvania style of doing things. So there's some paths that are going to be blocked until you unlock a new ability or find an item that allows you to progress. It's very familiar, very self-explanatory. There's never a moment where you're thinking, I have no idea what to do next. Same thing goes with the puzzles and the platforms. There's some very light puzzles. There's no critical thinking or anything like that. You're just using the items or abilities that you find as they were intended to be used in order to overcome those obstacles. One of the more unique designs that I hadn't seen in this kind of game before was the grapple seed, which is an item that you can use to throw on certain surfaces to place grappling positions. I don't know, it gave it more of an organic feel rather than just giving you surfaces you can grapple to and from. The next core of this game is crafting, and when people hear crafting, when I hear crafting, I think, oh, it's a survival game. But again, this is definitely not a survival game. But there are resources that you need to collect for crafting upgrades. Over the course of the story, you'll have to come back to your ship either for a mission or to craft a new item to progress, and that's generally when the crafting happens. The great thing is that there's no grinding for these resources. They just come naturally. When you down enemies, you get some carbon. When you come across a silicon vein, you can whack it, and there you go. There's 50 silicon. I can only think of one specific time where I needed to go out of my way to get a particular type of element in order to craft something. That's one of my biggest pet peeves with crafting systems in general, is like I don't want to go out of my way to get the resources to make something. That doesn't happen in this game. Circling back, it's a very simple crafting system that pretty much just exists so you can progress further. So you're using it to create new items or upgrade the existing ones. So you can get a double jump or a triple jump versus your normal one. Or you can upgrade your glove in order to hold certain items that you couldn't hold before. Initially, I was going to say this game has some RPG elements, but it really doesn't because there's no choice. You're basically unlocking everything. There's a quasi upgrade tree, but you're eventually going to get everything if you keep playing. The final core part of this game is combat. So you are fighting things fairly often throughout the experience. You've got a melee attack, which is like a slap, which I always enjoyed. Most of the time you'll be using a pistol to shoot the predators that will be attacking you. And then you can also throw items that have different qualities and elements and effects. While you are required to shoot things in a certain amount of time before they kill you and dodge around, there's never a challenge in Journey to the Savage Planet. But that's not really the point. I didn't find that I wanted to be challenged in this experience. It's just a means of exploring and getting to the next area. There is a surprising amount of customization to your pistol. You can upgrade it to do more damage per bullet, hold more rounds, have unique abilities like charging your shot for extra damage, or even bouncing bullets. I played the entire game with a controller, and while I couldn't call this a shooter, it had some tight controls. It always felt very snappy, very responsive to my movements whenever I needed to shoot in a very specific location. As you progress, you'll run into creatures that have specific resistances that require you to throw items in order to break through them. So that's kind of the combat application of being able to throw bombs and acid bubbles and other things like that. I wanted to talk about the theme and personality of this game because I think most people will see Journey to the Savage Planet through the marketing and immediately think, this looks like the Outer Worlds kind of. You know, it's capitalism gone wrong. What happens to humanity? It's definitely got that bit of social commentary, but I would say it's a different flavor. Where the Outer Worlds is dark and the moral of the story is bleak, you know, it just shouldn't have happened. Journey to the Savage Planet is lighthearted, and the satire is never biting or harsh. It's more on the irreverent side. It's very silly, very not serious. Most of the humor comes through your AI companion, Echo. She'll comment every time you scan something new and give you a little quip, and there'll be some flavor text there that's kind of funny. And then if you die, she'll comment on how she can just reprint your body if you die. It really doesn't matter. You also get some junk mail that's kind of funny and some video ads from KINDRED that I can only describe as bizarre. Some of these are way ridiculous. One of my favorites is the alien phone sex line. You just have to listen to it. Next, let's cover how long is Journey to the Savage Planet? How long is this experience in general? Well, you're going to be traveling across 4 separate areas that I would say take roughly a couple of hours each. It's much shorter if you're just going straight along the pre-designated path and not taking any time to explore. That would be the wrong way of doing things because you're missing out on a lot if you don't go out and explore this world, find all of the secrets and upgrades and things that are made for you to come across. There is some traveling back and forth. That's just the nature of the Metroidvania, unlocking new things to go back and go through blocked paths. So you will be doing that occasionally, but not too much. Generally speaking, the expectation is that this is not a fully priced AAA product. This is a AA experience, so don't expect that kind of depth or length. And I do want to reiterate that is not a knock, it's just a reality on what kind of game this is. Typhoon Studios is a very small team, and so there is a limit on the content in this game, but they are planning already for additional content in the future. Journey to the Savage Planet is a single-player game, but it's also got co-op. So you may be wondering, is this game meant to be played in co-op? And I think it's a little misleading from the marketing. It kind of suggests that a big drawing point for this game is the fact that you can play it with a friend. I don't have personal co-op experience with the game, but I can tell you it's a very, very minor element. It's kind of like having a buddy in a sidecar experiencing the game with you. It's definitely not essential. There are no co-op obstacles or specific mechanics built into the game and designed for co-op. If you plan on playing with a friend, it's cool because you can split up and explore the world separately, so you don't have to be around each other. There's no silly tethering to the host or anything like that. But to hammer home my initial point, this isn't a game I would say that you're buying specifically for the co-op, because all of the progress is only saved for one player, the host player. So essentially, you're joining your friend's world, helping them out with their experience, gathering resources. They get to keep all that stuff and all their progress, but if you join your friend's world, you don't get any progress. If you're watching this and still wondering, do I want to play this game? Is this kind of game for me? I would say people that enjoy shorter experiences that can be enjoyed in small bits, easy to pick up and play. If you're a new parent, for example, or you don't have a ton of time to play, I think this is a great experience. On the flip side, if you're a core gamer, I think you can definitely find enjoyment out of this. Personally speaking, I like a shorter experience that has a definite end, that I know I can reach, instead of something that's open-ended and endless. If you're looking for something that's very light and humorous, this story never gets heavy, it never gets serious, and that's something I've appreciated as well. Visually, it has a very offbeat, sort of bouncy art style with imaginative models and bright particle effects. So if you're looking for something that's very visually pleasing, I think Journey to the Savage Planet will scratch that itch. As I mentioned before with the gunplay, everything here feels cohesive and polished, responsive and well-designed, well-thought out, and intentioned. And so this is not a beta or an alpha or an early access game that's going to be improved. I mean, the performance is there, it works, and everything that's going to be in the game, aside from additional content, is there. So there's no holes, nothing like that. And the final thing you need to know is Journey to the Savage Planet comes out January 28th, 2020 for $29.99 US. Again, not a fully priced, fully retail product. For platforms, you can grab it on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC, but it is exclusive to the Epic Game Store. That is where I played my game. All right, guys, that'll do it. That was 10 things you need to know about Journey to the Savage Planet. Once again, thank you to Typhoon and 505 for giving me this review copy. Very excited to play the game. I'm going to make some new content, upload a few more videos on Journey to the Savage Planet. So if you enjoyed this one, remember to hit the like button. I'd really appreciate that. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my channel, hit the bell, receive notifications on when I upload more content. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.